What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Well, the other night we had a massive announcement with Nintendo and Microsoft reaching an agreement that will have several ramifications going forward for the future of Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony, all of which centers around Call of Duty. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the latest wave of tracks as part of that booster course pack, as it brought a surprising feature to the mix. And we'll also be talking about Capcom, as they are now hyping up their Game Awards announcement of some kind, which I'm sure won't lead to any kind of disappointment. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with PlayStation VR 2 with a port that's been announced for the platform. We can see this posted up over on PlayStation blog, where they say Moss and Moss Book 2 take advantage of the immersive Sense controllers and more on PSVR 2 in February 2023. So it's going to be there for the launch of the headset. They go over several features that they'll have here to take advantage of PSVR 2, which includes improved haptics, 2-controller setup, adaptive triggers, eye tracking, which they do mention that the eye tracking will work to, say, kind of illuminate interactive items as you look around the scene. So that's kind of a cool feature there. Foveated rendering and increased field of view, which this game will run at 90 frames per second in 4K, even though they will have expanded view for it. So Moss and Moss Book 2 were definitely good games to show off what the PlayStation VR could do without it feeling like a tech demo, kind of similar to Astrobot as an example. The only issue here, and something that a lot of people are bringing up, is if I already own these games on PSVR, is there an upgrade path of some kind, whether it's just an update on your PlayStation 5 or even a fee that you pay to upgrade to it rather than spend $40 for this? And from what I can tell, nothing was mentioned here, and this is something we are going to run into for PSVR 2. I think it's going to be a case-by-case basis for some of these games. Some will let you upgrade, others not at all. You just have to buy it again. And I'm sure for many people who were early adopters of PlayStation VR and have a library of these games currently, not gonna sit well. Also, there was an interesting trademark that was spotted from Bandai Namco, which we can see this posted up over on Push Square, saying Tales of Arise Beyond the Dawn, trademarked by Bandai Namco in Europe. And I'm sure many people looked at this and said, oh, that sounds like it could be maybe downloadable content for the story itself, and that's what I initially thought. But as I looked into this a bit more, the leading theory currently is that this would be some sort of anime or a manga spinoff, as Bandai Namco and developers sort of talked about them not pursuing single-player, story-driven downloadable content at all for Tales of Arise, which kind of a shame. I like Tales of Arise, and it would have been cool to just see something else to go along with it down the road, or even a complete edition, I guess you could say, for this. But I am kind of siding towards the idea of them maybe expanding outside of games and going along the lines of an anime or some sort of manga or something there. But I guess we'll find out here in the coming months. Oh, and with the Game Awards tonight, we're expecting to find out about release dates for all types of games that are already announced, one of which, most likely Diablo 4, However, it appears to have leaked online a bit early, which we can see this posted up over on Twitter from Lumia. And this actually tracks and covers a lot of the store listings and database updates for the Xbox. And we can see Diablo 4 release date, June 5th, 2023, coming in at 80 gigabytes. So most likely tonight we will see June 5th, I guess, revealed for Diablo 4. Maybe a little later than I was expecting. I was kind of thinking it would be in the first 3 to 4 months of 2023. They've already done like closed beta testing for a while now, and it seemed like they were getting ready to have this game release earlier in 2023. But in this case, we have to wait until the summer to get a look at the latest Diablo game. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with this deal between Nintendo and Microsoft. It was announced the other night. For me on the East Coast, it was like 11 something at night, which if you do the time conversion on the West Coast where Microsoft headquarters would be there, that would be, what, 8 o'clock at night? So some were looking at this wondering, why did they announce it almost midnight? Again, time zones, and kind of to sync up also with Japan, since this is specifically for Nintendo, which we can see this tweet posted up by Phil Spencer saying Microsoft has entered a 10-year commitment to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo following the merger of Microsoft and Activision Blizzard King. Microsoft is committed to helping bring more games to more people however they choose to play. All right, so there's several different things to discuss here. I'm going to break this into two sections, though. The first one talking about Nintendo and what effect this has on them. And the second part, obviously being about the Activision Blizzard deal and Sony's involvement. See, in this instance, Nintendo doesn't really need Call of Duty. They've made that very clear with the performance of the Switch, but I mean, if they're going to offer it up in a 10-year deal that we just sign and that's it, yeah, okay, great. We'll take Call of Duty. It can't necessarily hurt the platform. In fact, it's a big franchise that can only help them going forward. Not a lot of first-person military shooters on the Switch like Call of Duty, and that's obviously the big argument now is there's no franchise like a Call of Duty. At least that's what Sony keeps saying, but it's pretty obvious now going forward, 10 years on Nintendo's platforms, they didn't list the Switch necessarily, and there are a few reasons for that. One, it seems that next year, Call of Duty is going to have some sort of downloadable content or story expansion just in general for, I guess, Modern Warfare 2. And then they'll be working towards a new Call of Duty game in 2024, which, if you think about that, that'd probably be at least the year we're kind of targeting as Nintendo to kick off the next generation system. So why not target that year to have a new Call of Duty game built for whatever Nintendo's next system is? And in fact, if you think about this, the last time they had a Call of Duty game, it was with the Wii U in its launch year. So not a bad thing to launch with alongside of, obviously, some of Nintendo's first-party offerings. But I guess they could also put something on the Switch if Nintendo wants to continue this generation even longer than 2024, or if they want to take advantage of the current install base that is very attractive, I'm sure, to many developers and publishers. So they could either develop a Call of Duty game specific to the Switch, kind of like what they were doing before with even the DS. There were some pretty bad and weird Call of Duty games that they released on that handheld, but why wouldn't you? There's 150 million DS systems that ended up selling. You at least want to try to tap into that market somewhat, so they could do that. Even the Wii got some Call of Duty games that some people liked because of the pointer controls, so they could build a Call of Duty game specifically for it. They could move over Call of Duty Mobile. Maybe they just design a Warzone variant for the Switch to get a Battle Royale game on there. But certainly something to keep an eye on here as we head into, well, starting next year to see if they have any plans that they're ready to announce for the future of Call of Duty on Nintendo's platforms. But moving over to the effect now on Sony, as Sony has been the biggest opposition to this deal between Microsoft and Activision Blizzard going through, and a lot of that does hinge on Call of Duty. And now we see Microsoft making deals, 10-year deals even, with people like Nintendo and even Steam. Yeah, that was another one that was announced. First, let's take a look here. This is Brad Smith saying our acquisition will bring Call of Duty to more gamers and more platforms than ever before. That's good for competition and good for consumers. Thank you, Nintendo. Any day Sony wants to sit down and talk, we'll be happy to hammer out a 10-year deal for PlayStation as well. So it's very obvious what's happening here. This is just leverage or ammunition on their side when they go and talk to regulators like the FTC, saying, hey, look, we're signing deals with Nintendo. Steam and Valve have signed a deal now for 10 years with Call of Duty, which, by the way, Call of Duty just recently returned to Steam with Modern Warfare 2, whereas for a while now it's been on, Battle.net, and it's just another launcher. I know many people like to have their game purchases consolidated to Steam, so a 10-year commitment, I'm sure it's actually exciting to a lot of PC gamers who want to see Call of Duty there. And to go alongside of this, Gabe Newell had a statement for Kotaku where he says, we're happy that Microsoft wants to continue using Steam to reach customers with Call of Duty when their Activision acquisition closes. Microsoft has been on Steam for a long time, and we take it as a signal that they are happy with gamers' reception to that and the work we are doing. Our job is to keep building valuable features for not only Microsoft, but all Steam customers and partners. Microsoft offered and even sent us a draft agreement for a long-term Call of Duty commitment, but it wasn't necessary for us because A, we're not believers in requiring any partner to have an agreement that locks them to shipping games on Steam into the distant future, and B, Phil Spencer and the games team at Microsoft have always followed through on what they told us they would do, so we trust their intentions and we think Microsoft has all the motivation they need to be on platforms and devices where Call of Duty customers want to be. And that right there is a massive statement, because Steam has been brought up before as arguments when it comes to Microsoft essentially walling off the first-person shooter genre, and Steam being a massive platform. What if Microsoft takes it away from them and they want to build up their Windows Store, and oh wait, now it's a 10-year agreement? And Valve didn't even really feel it's necessary because they believe what Microsoft is saying. So that certainly damages, I would say, Sony's overall argument and opposition currently for Call of Duty. And as I mentioned, this is all carefully being planned right now by Microsoft to announce these things, like a 10-year deal with Nintendo for Call of Duty and a 10-year deal with Valve and Steam for Call of Duty. One being the biggest distributor when it comes to digital PC games right now on the platform. And then you have Nintendo with this massive market with their hybrid concept for the Switch, and a huge market in Japan. 10-year deal there, 10-year deal here. So what's Sony doing? And it seems that's going to be Microsoft's strategy going into any talks now with regulators, try to finalize and get this deal to the finish line for 2023, is that everyone else is on board except for Sony. They're the odd one out. And I guess we'll see if this ends up working out for them, because if the deal doesn't close, then any of these 10-year deals they're giving out for Call of Duty with Nintendo and Valve are worthless then. And at that point, I don't think things would go too well for Activision in the future. So apparently Microsoft and Xbox and all of them are going to be meeting with the regulators for the FTC here in the next day or two, and maybe we'll find out some more information before the end of this year. Otherwise, I'm sure as we head into 2023, we'll get other documents being dropped and arguments and stuff. And hopefully we just see this deal close, because it has been a saga for this thing. And I do think that is the ultimate outcome, is that eventually Activision Blizzard is owned by Microsoft and we can move on from there. Next up, let's talk about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, as we did have an update that went live, and this did bring the third wave of tracks for their booster course pack, and seems like people are pretty happy with it. In fact, we have Nintendo Life reviewing this, and we can see they gave it 8 stars out of 10, saying that 7 of the 8 courses are excellent. That's pretty good. Rainbow Road is a true standout with beautiful visuals, and Merry Mountain is a lovely festive addition. And one other thing at the bottom here, custom items. It's a welcome new feature. And I saw this, and I think a lot of people were surprised. Yeah, they're just custom items now in this. For example, we can see this over on Polygon. They say custom items feature threatens all kinds of groovy mayhem on Rainbow Road, which essentially you can pick your power-ups or you can ban them from the race. So obviously people are doing things you'd expect, like all blue shells, that being it. And it's led to some pretty funny videos over on Twitter and YouTube of just absolute mayhem with everyone throwing blue shells at the person in first place. Never having to see the lightning bolt pop up again. That's a pretty big deal. Turning off the coin item. So this just allows you to sort of shape and mold the experience you want for your race. And it sounds like a small thing to be able to customize items that show up in any of the races you're doing in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but it has such a huge effect on the outcome of some of these races in the game. And I still don't think we're going to see much of a new Mario Kart until Nintendo's next system comes out, as it seems pretty obvious that would be a great way to launch a new platform for Nintendo. You take your most popular game, which, yes, it is Mario Kart, and you launch the system with it, and maybe even make it cross-gen so that it would still come out on the Switch. Because if you think about it, we still don't have a new Mario Kart for what's looking like Nintendo's most popular, probably most successful system ever made, and it's technically using the Wii U Mario Kart. And I'll admit, I am actually pretty interested now in what else they have in store with the next wave of downloadable content and tracks for the game, since this update sort of came out of nowhere and people are really excited about it. So what else could Nintendo have in store for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe? Because remember, this is going to run throughout 2023, so here's hoping they have a couple of tricks up their sleeve for the game. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Capcom, as they're definitely hyping up the Game Awards tonight, which we can see over on Twitter, where they say, we're excited to watch the Game Awards this Thursday for all the incredible announcements and awards. Make sure to tune in, which obviously now everyone underneath of that tweet is trying to guess as to what they're going to show there. Typically, we see companies go on social media and say, hey, you might want to check this event out because they have some sort of meaningful announcement there. They've already announced that Monster Hunter Rise is coming to other platforms. They could run some sort of ad here and make it a bit more official, I guess you'd say, with a trailer and these different things. They could also talk about Street Fighter 6. That's probably the safe bet because we need a release date for it, and they would want people to watch so they can know when they can give them money and buy the product. But if we want to go out on a limb, I mean, just a little bit out there, we could say Dino Crisis Remake. I've seen that, but that would be in a similar vein as the Resident Evil games. They're using RE Engine, and we already have Resident Evil 4 Remake coming up, so you don't necessarily want to crowd up some of the marketing you'd be doing, especially since, remember, they're doing Exoprimal for next year, and well, we kind of thought that was Dino Crisis at first with the trailer that they showed in some of the characters, so maybe not the best idea to put those next to each other, which, I mean, there's no other choice. They have to announce a new Mega Man game tonight, and there are more and more rumors, by the way, going around that there are multiple Mega Man games in development within Capcom, and to that I say I will believe it when I see it, because while Capcom did give us Mega Man 11, which I think was a pretty fun outing for the Blue Bomber, there hasn't been a lot of indication from them that they are really all in on Mega Man, not like what we've seen with some of the other franchises like Resident Evil or Monster Hunter, and I mean, those are the big money makers for them, but I think Mega Man can have a nice place in their catalog as that $30 to $40 game, maybe 50 with games going up to 70, but it's a game that I think works right in that price range and is a nice change of pace from what they've been doing most recently with their other franchises. I would like to see them make the jump to Mega Man X, but Mega Man 11 did well enough for them to become the best-selling Mega Man game in franchise history, so maybe they continue that with Mega Man 12. A lot of possibilities here, and certainly a lot of ways for us Mega Man fans to be disappointed once again, but I'm crossing my fingers and I'm hoping. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, Microsoft and Nintendo have entered a 10-year agreement to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo's platform. When do you think the first COD game releases for Nintendo? 51% voting for 2024. And then we have 24% 2023, 15% 2025. I noticed 8% voted 2027. I basically just added options until I ran out, so I just counted through all of the years. I don't think it's gonna be 2027 that we see the first Call of Duty game on the Switch. You know, I wouldn't be too surprised if they moved something like a Call of Duty Mobile over for 2023, just to have something for the holiday there to launch on the platform. But I do think 2024 is a good holiday year for them right there at the end. Maybe there's a new Switch or a new Nintendo platform that it can launch around. Nintendo's kind of strange because they're on a different release schedule now from what we understand after the Switch released in March. Would it be March 2024? Or would they push all the way into November 2024 and get kind of back to what the traditional release has been for a console? But either way, that's what I'm aiming towards, is 2024 for Call of Duty to come back to Nintendo after being absent since the Wii U. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Venom saying, I never knew Pokemon Emerald was rated so low. This can't be. You know, let's take a look at the Metacritic on that one. Pokemon Emerald here, coming in as 76, 28 critic reviews, 19 positive, 9 mixed. And I mean, if you look across the board here, there are a lot of 80s for this game, right in there. Like IGN gave it an 80, which is technically an upgrade from the 7 out of 10 that we typically get for a lot of titles. So you have to kind of scroll down through many of them to get to where we see things like Electronic Gaming Monthly giving it a 72, mentioning that Ruby and Sapphire have been out for 2 years and Emerald doesn't offer enough new content to differentiate itself. We can go all the way down to the bottom with G4 TV and Eurogamer. Eurogamer says it just would be nice for Nintendo and Game Freak to supply the other demand next time, the demand of something actually more different, or at least palpably new for our hard-earned, I guess, dollars. Let the pitchfork-laden debate begin. And I mean, they're not wrong. Everyone seems really on board with the open world concept now. And at the time, Emerald, while we look back on it currently as just a good game, if you consider the fact that it came out 2 years after Ruby and Sapphire, and as mentioned, didn't really offer a lot that was new and like this big, okay, I gotta go out and get that, but it's still full price, you can see why the reviewers are thinking, you know, you don't really need to pick this one up if you already have either Ruby or Sapphire. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's the agreement between Microsoft and Nintendo for 10 years of Call of Duty on Nintendo's platform? Do you think 2024 is when we first see it? And what kind of effect do you think the deals between Microsoft and Nintendo and Steam will have on the entire situation with Sony and Call of Duty? And then also, what about Capcom at the Game Awards tonight? Do you think we are going to see a brand new Mega Man game, or is it disappointment once again? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.